All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Blackhawk Technical College. I've been going over the first 12 chapters were the PowerPoints for the Murox MySQL 2nd edition book. Again, the PowerPoints that I have are from edition 1. They're still relevant. They're pretty much the same. Some of the chapter orders and stuff have changed, but we're into Chapter 6 now, which is on summary queries. All right, and again, if I didn't mention it, this is for the 152-147 Relational Database Development class. Now, when you start looking into summary queries, the first thing to realize is that there are about 6 of them. So that's what we're going to talk about. When we get done talking about summary queries, we'll talk about the roll-up operator, the having clause, and we'll try to put it all together, okay? All right, you'll notice if you look here, the first 2 of these aggregate functions, which are also called summary queries, the first 2 are average and sum, AVG for average and SUM for sum. Those 2 particular functions will only work on a field that is a numeric field. The other ones, the min, the max, the count, and the count star, will work on any fields, regardless of whether or not they're numeric or non-numeric. So it'll work on any kind of field. All right? So here's an example of a summary query. Okay, now I'm going to give you some examples of these, and fortunately or unfortunately, the example that I've been using in here, I'm going to drop table quotes copy, because I really don't need that table anymore. So now if I show tables, I just have quotes. All right, and you already know what's in the quotes table. We looked at it a long time ago. It's up here someplace, but that's the copy of it. So let's grab the actual quotes table here. In fact, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of this and get back into it, because one of the bad things about doing this and doing it through the shell is you can't clear the screen. So MySQL -u root. Use quotes. In fact, let's see what else. Let's show databases here. Let's look at what other databases I have in here. All right, I've got not too much. That test, I don't know if that's mine or if that's a system database. So let's use test and see what's in there. There's nothing in that one. The blog doesn't have much in it, and the rest of them pretty much are system things. So let's do this. I'm just going to, this is all off the top of my head. So I'm going to create database, and I'm going to call it work. Okay? Oops. And I'm going to use work. All right, now I'm going to create table employees. All right, and I'm going to put in here ID, and I'll have that be an int, an auto increment, and let's say not null, auto increment, and a primary key. All right, we'll have first name, which will be a varchar of size 30, and that we'll just say nothing in here can be null, not null. Last name, which will be another varchar 30. I'm going to try to keep this as simple as I possibly can, and not null. We'll put in here department number. We'll make that an int, and that can't be null. And finally, we'll put in a salary, and we'll say that's a number field, and Let's put in here the biggest, 9 comma 2. All right. Doesn't like something I put in. Doesn't like my number field. Fantastic. All right, create table employees. All right. It liked everything until that point, so that's a good sign. Let's make that a decimal instead of a number. See if it takes that. Good. All right, so let's, with our table that's in here, let's describe the table to make sure it looks pretty much the way that we want it to look. Describe table. Not describe table. Describe employees. There it is. Okay, that looks pretty good as far as I can tell. All right, I guess we did set it up so the salary, since I didn't put not null in there, that can be null. And that's good. All right, so let's put a few records in here. All right, I'm going to put in 5 records. Insert into employees values. And I'm not going to put in, remember, I don't have to put in an ID. So the first name will be Jeff. The last name will be Scott. The department number, I'm just making these up, but they don't have any meaning, is 1. And let's say that the salary is $55,555. Column count doesn't match. Values. Well, I guess it wants something in there. I think I can leave it blank. Maybe I can put in the word default there. See if it takes that. Okay, so it took that. All right, so let's select star from employees. And there's me. Okay? Now, I'm going to put in 5 more values in here. Okay? So, next I'll have default again in there, and I'm going to put in my whole family here. So Sandra, Scott, she'll work for department 2, and of course she has to make more than I do. 66666. Yeah, that's the number with the devil, isn't it? So let's make that 77777. All right, so that's in there. And then I'll put in my daughter Taylor. See, she works for department 2 also, and she makes make it $35,000. All right, now I've got my daughter Mackenzie. Let's say that she works for department 3, and she makes, I don't know, $40,000. Finally, I've got my last daughter, Chloe. And we're going to say she works at the same department I do, which is department 1, and we'll say she makes $44,000 a year. All right, so I put all that information in. So let's select star from employees. Okay, so that's everybody that's in there. All right, and it doesn't read real well because department number is really big. So I'm going to say this, just so you see this. Select ID, first name as first, last name as last, department number as, and if I have a blank space in here, I'm not going to, so I have to, but otherwise I'd put it in quotes, single quote, double quotes rather. Let's just call it DEPT number, salary from employees. What's wrong? Salary from employees. Oh boy. Well, I goofed that up, but the good news is the so I'm going to have to literally get out and get back in again. MySQL minus U roots. Use, I forgot the name of it now, show databases. Use work. Select star from, let's make sure it's all there, employees. All right, okay. Now, normally I have a lot more in here than this, but let's just try to run a few of these functions on there. So how about this? Select average salary from employees. So that says that the average person working there, if we add up these amounts, all right, that the average person there makes $50,466.40. Now I can run that just so you see this. I can also tell it that I want it to round that average salary, and I want to round that to 2 decimal places, because that's a little bit nicer to look at. Not only can I do all that, but I can also alias it as AVG salary. Okay? That looks a little nicer. But the point is, what I wanted to show you was the AVG function. All right? So what if I want to come in and I want, again, it's very easy because we have a very small number of people here. I'm going to keep doing select star from employees, just so you can see this stuff. So I want to find out how many people work in Department 1. All right, select count star from employees where department number equal 1. And it says we have 2 employees. Now again, it's a blessing and a curse, the fact that I have so few of these records in here. But I'm already just showing you some of these things. If I can select the max salary from employees, and I'll alias it as, we'll just call it max. So Sandy is the one with the most, who makes the most money at 77,777. So you can see that. I'm going to do min, and that should come up with 35,000. I can, again, remember, I can run max and I can run min. I can run both of those on names also. So if I do the max first name, it should be Taylor because T is the last one. If I do min first name, it should do Chloe. So let's try those. In fact, let's do them both. Select min first name as, we'll call it min name, comma, max first name, oops, that doesn't matter, name as max name from employees. And you see, I get exactly what I told you I'd get. All right? So with that as a beginning, you can start seeing what we're talking about here. All right? So there's an example of a query, and they've got a lot of them in here. Again, please be cognizant of the fact that what I am going to do is I'm going to be going through additional examples of these later. I'm just trying to run through some stuff and talking about some stuff that will kind of coordinate with the PowerPoints that we've been going over. But we'll go over other examples in more depth and breadth of coverage. So I showed you a min and a max, and I showed you it on a non-numeric column. How about distinct? All right. Well, one thing about this, and I want to show you, this is a kind of an important thing now, so it made me think of something here. Excuse me. Let's do our select star again. All right. Now, I can do a select count star from employees, and it'll show me exactly how many records there are, and there are 5. All right? And I can also do that, I think I showed you this earlier, I can say where, how about this, salary greater than $50,000. And you notice it shows me 2 of them. These are aggregates, so it's showing me numerical information. It's not showing me who those people are. It's just showing me that there are people that meet that criteria. I'm going to put in another record. So I'm going to insert into employees, default, and I'm going to put in my late dog, Lacey Scott. We'll say she works for Department 2. I'll make it 3. And we're not going to give her a salary. Remember, that salary can be null. It says I've got an error. And I thought that that didn't have to be. Well, let's double check. Let's see what it doesn't like here. Right near the default. Scott, 3. Oh, I forgot the word values. Sorry. So insert into employees, values. Column count doesn't match. All right, we'll do this. For the salary, I'm going to put in null. There, it took that. Now, when I select star from employees, you'll notice that the salary for Lacey Scott is null, which means it's unknown. All right? Now, if I do this, if I say select AVG salary from employees, when we did it before, it was $50,466.44. And look, it still is. Why is that? It's because when you work on these numeric functions like this, it disregards things in there that are nulls. All right, which is a big difference, because when I add up these 5 values and divide by 5, I get this. If I were to add up 6 values and have the same sum, this would be a lot lower. All right. And again, if I'm confusing you, sorry, it's the distinct doesn't really work here. How about a group by and a having? All right, let's take a look at one of those. How about this? I'm going to say this now. Select average salary, group by department number. Select average salary. What doesn't it like there? Select. Oh, I have to say what table I'm selecting it from. So, select average salary. Let's hit enter here. Try it again. Select AVG salary from employees, group by department number. And now notice what we get. Looks a little bit confusing, but what it's saying is the average salary in Department 1 is this, in Department 2 is this, and in Department 3 is this. So you might say, well, that's kind of hard to figure out from there. Well, I could have said select department number, comma, average salary from employees, group by department number. Now that makes it a little bit easier to read and figure out what's going on. Okay, and instead of department number, we could have used department name in there, which would have made it easier. And again, as you already saw previously, I can do this, and if I want to make it easier, I can say round, and then do rounding my average salary to 2 decimal places, which makes it much easier to read. There you go. And again, I could have aliased either one of these. So let's do that one more time. So select department number as, we'll call it dep no, and then again, round this to 2 decimal places as average sal from employees, group by department number. And that's pretty good right there. All right. So hopefully you're starting to get the gist of this. Again, when we go over the additional examples in the book in a little while, I'm going to do stuff from the book, and I'll be using those particular examples. You know, I shouldn't even say examples, those particular databases. I'm just making up some of my own stuff right now. All right. Okay. Well, if I want to, when I do the group by, I can put some stuff in there with the group by too. So I can say having. So in other words, this is the example I'm going to give you is kind of silly, but it should work. Let's check. So we'll go through the same thing we just put in here. So select this from this, group by this, and we're going to say having salary greater, or having, I don't know if it'll take their average sal, having an average salary of greater than $45,000. And you notice, like the where clause does, this also threw out Department 3 because they don't have an average salary that's greater than $45,000. All right. You can do this in conjunction with joins. You can write basically any kind of query in here, any kind of a select query. All right. And figure out what's going on. But again, the idea is you can do, and I've shown you a count, I showed you a min, I showed you a max, I showed you a sum, I showed you an average. All right. So you've seen most of these that are in here. And the last thing they talk about here is this with roll-up. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to add with roll-up on the end. So let's go to the query that we've been using basically. We'll just select this. From this, we'll group that department number, and then we will with roll-up. Hopefully that'll work out okay. All right. So what did it show us here? Well, we were working with averages, so it showed us the average for Department 1, for Department 2, for Department 3, and then the average. Remember, that's the average for everybody. So that rolled up everything that was in there. All right. I think that's about enough for right now. And when I come back, it'll be tomorrow, but I hope tomorrow to finish the next 6 of these. So I'll have the 12 chapters that I'm going to be really going over in much depth and breadth of coverage finished at that time. Okay, that's about it.